Welcome everybody to today's market analysis or trade recap session. Today is April the 21st, Monday, and prior using pre-week analysis from yesterday's video, we do know that today was a quite low volatility or low volume day due to the majority of sessions other than New York being closed. So let's take a look into what happened and what we marked out on NQ. We were not able to take any trades here today on NQ or in general because we hopped on the market at around 9, and from that point we were not able to find much else that supported our idea. From our setup switch we did make yesterday though, the short side did come out to play very nicely. So market opened, and then what happened? Let's go to 1 hour real quickly. No sweep of liquidity to the upside either. We just made a move up right at market open. We made a move up. Then we started seeing this downwards pressure, and this downwards pressure is very strong. Now I got Bookmap open on my other screen, and I'm looking for any ideas in which there could have been potential confluence for any trade that we have not spotted. So that's what I'm looking out for right now. So this is right at 8:30. There's too much liquidity. It's like choppy. And then it's at the bottom more. What time is it there? 6:40, 6:45. Let me check the time on once that low liquidity gets touched. Alright. Right at around 6:47. Yeah, it's all within all of this. There's nothing really that we can find with confidence, right? But potentially there is something here which I am keeping an eye out for. Still, I'm not seeing much on the Bookmap at all. We continue to go down. I'm looking for the first signs of retracement at around this time or this time, and using for value gaps, this trade could have been a potential trade, but I don't know if there was any confirmation for this, which we are going to be checking. 9:40. Okay, does look like there was some sort of barrier. Okay, right upon 9:40, and this liquidity level is still there at the bottom. I'm just seeking validity of the 5190 Bookmap level to understand if it would be a valid level for us to target. 182 compared to the remaining, yes, it would be a valid magnet. Now, what I see going on is that in this retracement at 740, not the one before, at 740, when we retrace to this for value gap type area at 5215, we created this nice barrier of around 122 contracts right there. Now, if we start to see rejection from that barrier, we could enter short, targeting 5190. Additional confluences for that would be that we're starting to get sell stops get introduced. Overall, the trend is going towards the downside, but we do have to be careful because lots of buy stops were also filled. So if we start getting momentum, we definitely could continue the short side. All right, we're waiting for this to occur. I mean, it doesn't look bad. Like this itself would be like a B minus or even C setup. I would not count this as an A plus setup because we need more confluence and confirmation for the shorts to occur, whether that be through icebergs, delta, or a stronger barrier in general. But it's not a bad one. Like I could definitely see this play out. The main reason it's B would be because there was buy stops so close to this level that potentially could carry on momentum through this liquidity level. But looking at how we created, we could carry short until 5190, which now if you go onto the ES charts from 5215, which would be 5215. Yeah, we don't even touch 5215. We just see its reaction from that general relative area. So right when you saw this big pressure of cells come in around 5206, you could have entered realistically because you can gauge confirmation from that. You likely could have entered higher upon around here or even higher, but this seems to be a reasonable area to potentially entry. Where would you keep stop? Above 5215 and leave around 4 to 5 ticks of room, so keep it around 40 tick stop loss. And where are we targeting? 5190, which would be right there, which turns out to have hit very nicely and perfectly as well. Now, hopping back onto Bookmap, I do want to see how the momentum carries through the liquidity level. We do start to stall at the liquidity level, so I would take that as a great area to take profit right there. But once we've broken through, we've had more spreading of liquidity. We do have a 123 barrier up there, so potential retracement up near that relative area and a retracement down could provide for another opportunity. But it looks like we don't even head there. There's so much selling pressure that we just continue going down. So realistically, there's not many other trades at all. Just looking on the Bookmap chart, there was no retracement after the original trade that would have allowed any of this to occur because seller momentum was just too powerful in the day today. I would have loved to see some reversal action occur, but then again, it's hard to gauge because although we did sweep liquidity on NQ and start to make long action right away after a sweep of liquidity on a higher frame time basis, it's simply just a line on the chart and there's no reason for it to hold or break depending on how price reacts. Just taking a look on ES now. After we just saw continued selling pressure and on NQ, it's actually interesting, but we hold this level a lot better than we do on ES. And then that shows that ES was likely the leading symbol on the day today, which potentially individuals could have got an early grab on shorts around this level, carrying the shorts down on NQ. Now, I'm just trying to see if there's any trades around 10 or 10-10 as well on Bookmap. Again, shout out to Live Alex with Think with Bookmap. Great resource, I highly recommend. So as we move forward, yeah, there's not really much. That's already at 10:30, and the day would be over there. So honestly, the only trade I see happening would be this trade right here, because we saw a retracement into a barrier, large liquidity down below at 5190, barrier at 5215. We started seeing rejection, entered with confirmation, and got the target down while following the trend. Since a barrier did pop up after a sweep of liquidity, that does potentially signal that this liquidity level could have been broken, which we do need to keep in mind as the day is continuing to follow. Now, after that, we just saw continued downside for the rest of the day, really, until finally around 12, we started making reversal signals, or 155. So I'm actually going to look on Bookmap as well to see if there's anything around that 155 area that would have symbolized potential retracement or pushback up. Yeah, as you see on Bookmap, the spread of liquidity still looks quite bearish, but we pushed back up. Potentially a signal of a pushback up could have been this. Just regarding the spread of liquidity, we broke through this level, this key barrier, and we continued to hold that barrier, showing that this level is important for buyers and sellers. So now buyers can hold that level, continuing to push price upwards. But still, I would be very careful on that as well. There would be no trade I would take during that time. There would be no trade I likely would have taken today as well. Maybe potentially this one, but there is reasoning behind why I didn't, because simply if you look on both the day volume profile, starting from 8:30, moving prior, POC was always above. And if you go on an even higher time frame, right, we're highly deviated from the mean from many ranges, right? If you do that, it's over there. And if you go to an area where we took the trade, it is still up there. If you move this back even more, it is still there. So it shows that this liquidity level here, or this relative area in general, is very important. And I believe that if this long movement holds, we can definitely continue to make our way up. And if this level breaks without POC moving downwards, we definitely can head upwards there. But it all depends on where volume is created within the market. Now, essentially all I have here for today. I know I didn't give a full analysis. I was trying to gather some potential trades that could have been made today. But essentially, the idea and basis was from pre-week analysis. We had up or down based on a break or hold of a level around this area, and we broke below that level. And because of that, there was seller momentum that we're aiming to target downwards. But since we were at liquidity level and we're looking for signs for upwards movement because of a touch on liquidity, we were not able to catch anything, which does tells us that we should not be married to any liquidity in terms of bias, and we should just work with the spread of liquidity on Bookmap. And if we do that, we can make great trades like this with a 1.6 risk to reward at a realistic scenario, but it is highly likely that you could have easily got around 2.5 or even higher. Now, that's all I have here for today. Oh yeah, there's one thing I want to do before I end this. I do want to open up the footprint chart and backtest this overall price action here to see if there's any further support for this trade right here. So let's go straight into the footprint right now. Okay, so now that we're on the footprint charts, Let's quickly go to that area on ES where we did see the short potentially come in, which was around this time right here. Okay, so I do start to see some signals of potential downside, which I am looking for. It's quite interesting. Yeah, there was not much volume at all today as compared to other days, but as a Monday, it's typically normal as well. But I'm just looking for any other signals of short side. Okay, so from what I see is that this level down here was a very important level for a variety of reasons, right? And we'll go over that right now. This top area where we expected to see rejection, or the same area where the barrier was. So that actually ties up very, very nicely, and I'll explain to you guys why. Let me just pull back up to the barrier on Bookmap real quick. Okay, so let's take a look up here, right? And I want to see if I can draw real quick. Okay, I don't think I can draw. But around this area, right? What did we start to see? Just simply by looking at the volume, right? Around this area, we started to see high amounts of volume get transacted. Look at this candle. Not this candle, but look at the candles prior. Look at this candle right here. Most of the volume transacted at the bottom. Here, here, here. Then as we come back up to that level, right? We came up to this level with the buy, and then look what happens. Lots of volume gets transacted there once again. Now, let's take a look at this candle right here, right? Yeah, there's a variety of signals. So first of all, up here we start to see heavy buyer delta and seller delta. So it's showing that lots of volume is being transacted at this level, and this is a very important level to understand. Now look here as well, right? We started to see volume again, and we started to see buyers come in with heavy strength up at this level, right? And that is indicated by the large amount of buyers that were there. Now, you may be wondering, if there are so many buyers, why didn't we break through? Because it's likely there were passive orders sitting there, and that could be an idea simply gained just by using footprint charts. But with Bookmap, you can see these passive orders in live time, right? You can see these passive orders and limit orders form right there. These were the passive orders that were stopping the move upwards. So that gives us further confidence for the barrier, because we're starting to see a large volume get transacted up at these areas. And likely as we're coming back down, the downwards move shows acceptance to this high volume area. And the introduction of this right here, this high negative delta, provides us more confidence. And just simply looking as a confirmation for your trade, just look at the bottom, right? Look at the delta. Negative 13. We have a negative 13 delta, but look how much we moved towards the downside. This candle was 10 points, around 10 points towards the downside. And that is pretty significant. And for this buy candle, we had a 589 positive delta, which accounted for a similar sized move. But only with the negative 13 negative seller delta, we made this big of a move down. That shows that sellers can definitely be in control. Even though buyers are gaining delta, the market still is going to the downside, showing that there is more aggression within sellers. Now, look here as well. 31 buy orders barely moved up. Now here, look at the sell orders. We saw major selling delta, major move down. Minor selling delta, still major move down. It's showing that sellers are definitely in control of the market, and we can see that prior as well. Even when there's green delta, price is still continuing to move downwards. And what happened with the volume and the delta change is all just confluence that further supports our ideas that were on the barrier trade like we've made here. So if I were to make any trade, this trade would have been the highest confluence and highest confirmation and highest probability trade that you likely could have made today using my personal strategy. Now I think that's all I have here for today. We went over some quick market context of Monday, April 21st session. We talked about how I stayed flat because I hopped on the market late and couldn't find any optimal trades I could have placed. We talked about how I stayed flat additionally because I was somewhat married to the bias that we're going to reverse towards upside because of long-term POC and because of mean reversion. When Bookmap was telling otherwise, we should have followed with what Bookmap was giving us in terms of barriers and order flow. And if we done that, we would have been able to make such nice trades like this right here with institutional and order flow confluence directly from the bid and ask, which confirms this trade. We've also backtested this on both the footprint chart and we've looked over why this is validified on Bookmap as well. We additionally talked about how there wasn't any much setups moving forward and what we expect in the next few days, especially if we continue to see this upside occur, we could continue to see movement back up to this general area next to the POC, as long as this high volume area doesn't move down towards these supply zones. Now, that's essentially all I have here for today. I thank you guys for watching, and if you guys have any questions, please join the Discord. The link is in the description, and or leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer questions there as well. That's all I have, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next market recap, market analysis, and trade recap session tomorrow evening at the V2 Trading YouTube channel, which I highly recommend you guys to subscribe and like this video. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.